Alright guys, today was originally going to be about how CIG prices ships. So as you can see, I made a little list here and all that, did research and all this stuff, but it turns out I'm significantly more confused about how CIG prices ships after I did all this research and collected all this data than before I did all this, because before I kind of assumed CIG price ships on uh, basically credit to dollar amount, usefulness in game, and kind of how like how common they wanted that ship to be seen. And then I also assumed as you got to a higher price in game, CIG wouldn't feel comfortable pricing certain ships at crazy prices to match other credit rates, and they want to so that those ships would be better credit to dollar ratios. And then as you got to the lower end of the game, like 25-30 bucks, CIG wouldn't want to price those ships below a certain amount, so you would get worse credit to dollar ratios. And it turns out most of those are wrong. The high price and low price ones are semi-right, and there seems to be some pricing on if CIG doesn't want to see the ship, doesn't want that ship to be very common in game. So it seems like there's a little bit of truth to all this, but at the end of the day, it seems like CIG just throws a random price tag on a lot of their ships because, well, I'm not going to say 100% random, but they do seem pretty odd, some of these price points, because if you thought they did credits to dollar ratio, that doesn't seem to be true. I mean, it seems to be kind of be true because a lot of these are similar, but like there's the Prowler, which is really bad, and there's just a lot of just random ships that are really bad for seemingly no reason. And then if you thought they priced them on usefulness, well, some of the most useful ships in the game have very great credit to dollar ratios. But anyway, let's run over this graph real quick to kind of go over what's going on, and we can dive into a little bit more of what we see going on in this spreadsheet. So anyway, ships is this first column over here, and it's mostly ships. There's some ground vehicles that I added just to kind of compare to the ships' prices. And I didn't add all the ships in games because I felt like the Auroras were all pretty similar. I felt like the Mustangs were all pretty similar, so I didn't add all of those. But then I felt like the Vanguards were different enough that I went ahead and added all of the Vanguards. And then I added the 600i Touring and Explorer just because they're kind of interesting. But anyway, that's kind of how that went down on adding ships. This next column is the cost and credits in game. So this is if you want to earn them in game, this is how much it would cost you to buy them in game. The next column is cost in real world money. I'm doing dollars in this case, so it'd be different if you're using a different currency. And then this is what $1 gets you in credits for each of these vehicles. So I just divided this cost by the amount in dollars, and this is what I came up with. And then over here we have the average. So this first one is for all the everything on this column, including the ground vehicles. This is just the ship, so get rid of the ground vehicles. This is all the ships under $100. This one is all the ships between $101 and $250. This is all the ships for $251 and $500. And this is all the ships $500 plus. And then this is kind of a special category for alien, because I wanted to see if the alien tax is a real thing. And the answer is kind of yes and no for that. So anyway, let's just jump right into the alien tax since we just talked about this. If you look at the Blade, the Defender, and the Cartual, all these seem to be slightly below average, but not in a crazy way. So you could say that there's a little bit of an alien tax, but really not much. They're pretty in line with most fighters and most ships in the average. They're slightly below, but nothing to write home about. And the Prowler is way below. Like, this is definitely something to write home about. I have no idea why this is like this. Surprisingly, there are still a few ships that are technically worse buys than this, like the P-52, which is a snub. And I'm guessing that's just because CIG didn't want to price it below $25, and the snubs are so cheap to purchase in game, it just ends up in a really bad credit to dollar ratio. But then the surprising thing is the Talon and the Talon Shrike are actually extremely good credit to dollar ratios, especially the Shrike. So that really pulled up the alien thing. And since there's only 6 alien ships, if you come here and look at it, the alien ships actually have a better average dollar to credit ratio than all other categories except for the ships that are 500 plus. So is alien tax really a thing? Kind of doesn't seem like it. Maybe a little bit on some of these ships, maybe a lot of it on the Prowler, but it seems like overall CIG just kind of prices them how they feel like it, because the alien ships are all over the price. But if you take the average, doesn't really seem like the alien ships are all just doesn't seem like there's a major alien tax on them. Now, kind of the starting ships look like really bad dollar ratios, except for like once you get to the 100i, but like the two main ones, the $45 ones, the Aurora and the Mustang, both look pretty bad, but that's just because I don't think CIG wanted to price them below 30 bucks. And they're pretty cheap in game, and since they don't want to price them below 30 bucks, it kind of just ends up in a bad ratio. But if you jump up to like the 100i starter package, you get a pretty good one, or the Titan, you get a pretty good dollar to credit ratio as well, which is kind of interesting. So the next thing I kind of want to cover on this is, does CIG price ships on usefulness, which I thought they would have before, because they talked about how the Caterpillar is going to go up in price because they've been looking at it and it's a lot more useful ship than the price entails, which it does have a pretty good credit to dollar ratio here. But the interesting thing is CIG doesn't seem to price ships on usefulness. You look at the Titan, really good credit to dollar ratio, extremely versatile and useful ship to start the game off with, and it has one of the better dollar to credit ratios in the ships under $100 category, and even has a better average dollar to credit ratio than the ships in $250 to $500 ratio. So it doesn't seem like they exactly priced it on usefulness. Cuddy Black also has a very good dollar to credit ratio. Other useful ships, I'm trying to think of one real quick. The entire Constellation line has a very good credit to dollar ratio, especially the Taurus has one of the best, especially in its price point. So it really just doesn't seem like there's a lot of consistency. Also, the Freelancer also has a very good one. The Mercury Star Runner has a very good dollar to credit ratio. So it just doesn't seem like they price it on whether or not it's useful or not. So it seems kind of weird that they're bumping the price of the Caterpillar up for how useful it is, because a lot of the other useful ships fall right in line with this. And like if you look at the Carrack, which is probably one of the most useful ships in the game, it actually has the best dollar to credit ratio in the game. So I don't know. It's probably because CIG just doesn't want to go much over that $600 mark, I guess. But it really seems at the end of the day, CIG just kind of prices things like they feel like it, and there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. I mean, there's obviously kind of a box that they usually follow in this, and then some random ships like the Prowler just don't fit into that box. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas of how they decide the prices on their ships, let me know down in the comments below, and thank you all for watching the video.